Ahoy there, friends. Today we're going to go through some interesting topics about PulseChain, PulseX, and HEX, and what's been going on when it comes to raising price targets. Friends, I've already made a video just to tell you, yes, I get asked time and time again, please, sir, please, can you please raise your price targets up 300x so that when the crowd gets it wrong, it's going to give us 100x? And I explain, and I'll explain again, the crowd is smarter than me. I am just a peanut brain. I am a little drop in the ocean. I'm just a humble little fart in the wind doing nothing. The crowd prices all of it in. And the example I can use you relevant to the PulseChain, PulseX, and HEX community is during the PulseChain launch. You see the corrupt SEC came here. You see this little candle here? That's the corrupt SEC. Look at this whole move down. From the PulseChain test set, sell the news, HEX went down 94%. The whole ecosystem, everyone sussed out, not me. I mean, like, it's very thin, friends. The liquidity is very thin. So when I say everyone, it's not really everyone. It's just that, remember, you only need 1 out of 30 people to move the price. That's how thin it is. It's just markets. There's only like 1.5% of the total market cap in liquidity. So yeah, you only needed, I mean, we could even see for HEX, there's only like a couple of $1 million of liquidity. You think about it, and there's meant to be, it's $1 billion valuation. So, you know, today, friends, the market cap, the Richard Heart ecosystem market cap is 2.7 billion. 2.7, that includes EHEX, PHEX, Pulse, and PulseX. And guess what? All of that money was looking to exit, but there's only millions of dollars that was in HEX at the time before they even launched. And so people were just getting out. So people are anticipating their coins of Pulse and PulseX, so they were getting out of EHEX, as you can see here. But why were they getting out? Well, they said, oh, I'm just going to launch, I don't like it. Yeah, they're saying it, but it's effectively what they're doing is, this is the mind of the masses. This is the wisdom of the crowd. So everyone's collective pricing mechanism, they summarize it as this. They go, I want to get out because I don't like it. But why don't they like it? Probably Richard's missing, weird things are happening, they're not confident, it doesn't feel like the HEX launch. That's probably why. So that's where it's all coming from. Now, today's video, we're going to be speaking about these price targets. And what I did was I went and I compared things of the past. Now, firstly, for the week, I mean, you got to celebrate every little win. So you have Pulse up 17%, HEX 22%, PulseX 18%. So they're nice. You also have EHEX up as well. Okay. And I'm mentioning this is what I like seeing, friends. You see, they're up. This is always confused me. Retailers love seeing this. I hate it when I want to buy. I don't buy greens, man. I don't. I'll tell you the story one day, but yeah. Because, friends, how I became successful in trading was I was a spreader. You know what a spreader is? You're looking at a chart and you're trying to see, okay, where's cheap, where's expensive? You're never going with momentum on a spread. You're trying to see, okay, something has been bought up heaps. If I sell it, what can I buy against it? So that on its chart, if I chart their ratios, it's a nice mean reverting chart. So every single time when I'm trading there in markets, the night markets, day markets, everything, whenever someone pays up, they're suckers. We would always yell in the office, wow, someone's paying up. Any green candle, wow, someone's paying up. Or any red candle, someone's paying down. Wow, let's take the other side, because they just want to get out for the day. They just want to get out and do the order and then move on. They don't care about the slippage. So when I see these, this is why, friends, I'm built for crypto. I'm literally built for it, because constantly I'm skeptical and paranoid and contrarian, because that's the game, right? If you learn how to spreader, I think if you learn trading, it's one of the best things to start off with, because it's for people who aren't good at the whole risk 1 unit to make 2 units type of thing, that type of style. So it's a different way to basically make you learn. So that's why when I see these candles, like, man, I don't want to buy. But here's the thing, man. It's still dead on the floor and cheap. That's the best part. Even with these green candles are freaking nothing. This is just for like marketing and branding to let everyone know, hey, we're not dead. We actually still move up kind of from time to time. That's what it's for. Now, when it comes to these, friends, what I did was I went through in this post, I went to HEX's old chart. So what I'm doing is if you go to HEX, uniswap.hex.vision, or you can go to another website, hexchart.com. This is the full chart. What I did was I went to see, okay, where is PulseChain to date? PulseChain is day 225. Okay, so PulseChain is around 225 days old. So what I did was I go, okay, well, go to HEX. Where were you on day 225? You were up 58x from the low. That's a huge difference. It's a huge deviation. But there's another way to look at it. Okay, there's another way to look at it, because I just did this just to show you, just to point out a point. But see, you can mix and match any numbers you want, really. When you look at these, this is where, see the flag? Why do I have this flag here? This is the average adoption amplifier price. This is the average person got in here. So people who got in at the start, this is the actual first day one people getting in. So unfortunately, this might be our sacrifice price equivalent, right? It feels like it, right? So maybe you drop it down because you end up getting yield, but it's around here, okay? So you end up dropping down, look at this, 90, 95%, which is what everyone happens, right? Happens in PulseX and Pulse. Remember, there's big inflation getting earned here as well. And then you end up pumping up. So another way to look at it, you might want to say, you go, well, if this flag, which was the HEX adoption amplifier, if that's where everything really is in terms of comparing PulseChain and PulseX day one sacrifice price, maybe by day 225, you are up about a 2.3x. So that's another way to look at from your sacrifice price, 2.3x. So, and now, obviously, now you got to ask, all right, what's the real one? Do we want to start from PulseChain sacrifice price or PulseX? Do you see how if you keep changing the measuring stick in the yard, you end up, you don't really find anything out. You're just like, okay, it can look good or it can look bad. So it really just depends where you're starting point from, and you don't really solve anything. You just get a different picture, but it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, you know, our fate is almost predetermined, right? You're going to have Bitcoin, you have stock market, and all of these things moving forward in the next year. So now we've seen that HEX was up 58x from 200 day 225, but PulseChain Pulse, right, PLS is only up 91%, so it's 0.9x. So, you know, written here, showing you, basically in its first cycle, by this point in time, HEX was moving 64 times faster. All right, and as I say this, it's not, friends, no FUD. I'm just telling you, this is what the picture was like. So if you want anyone else to say, yes, 1000x is happening, if you want that, you got to be shown that, man. You can't just like, here's Casper's chart, for example. This is a coin that's up 780x from the start, okay? 780x. This is an actual chart going up. If you notice, I was actually, like, this is like insane as well. That's a weekly chart. Look at this on a daily chart. Okay, this is like, okay, you're going up, you're going places. We need to do this first move for HEX, for example, PulseChain and PulseX, if we're going to see these types of numbers. Now, of course, friends, I can't believe, I've got to keep reminding everyone, because a lot of people came late. When you see a chart up like Casper, you do not buy, you sell it. Don't listen to anybody else who goes, no, you got to buy more, it's going up, it's going up. No. The insiders won. They're up 800x. Okay, you're going to bet that they make 2000x? That's another 2-3x from here. You're not going to win in that game. You got to win by participating when no one believes in anything. That's how you get low prices. Now, continuing, there is hope here. So the hope is, and it's not really cope, trends, trust me, I'm very honest. I'll tell you if it's cope. But I've also got to play for you some angel music just so we clarify this is actually true. Remember how I said it seems like the market is pricing HEX as a DeFi category coin, not a Bitcoin store of value? It's put certificate of deposits and whatever the narrative for HEX, it's put in DeFi category. Well, DeFi, the sector, and HEX itself pumped in the Bitcoin halvening year in 2020. That's when they pumped. We are not in the Bitcoin halvening year yet. You're also seeing Ethereum. Remember, ETH BTC. So Ethereum gained on Bitcoin in the Bitcoin halvening year too. But right before the Bitcoin halvening year, they'll poop. HEX was going down. I know it had just launched, but ETH BTC was going down too. So it's possible that this is just a sign of what's to come. Okay, now the Bitcoin halvening year, very important. So next year is going to be a big year for PulseChain, PulseX, and HEX, because if we're going to be shown those big numbers, we can't just sit here and guess. It's not about you and me and what our expectations are. It's those prices. We need to see those prices claimed. And I calculated them for you. I'm going to show you. So we're going to need to see where we are in April 2024. The Bitcoin halvening year is next year. And then we have this, see this dotted line? This is April 2024. And you can actually put it right here. I mean, I can actually go in. This is the PulseX chart. It's right here. So look, yeah, you can just see it like right here. I mean, you're just going to think, okay, where are we going to be on this line? Is PulseX going to be like up here, or is it going to do this? That's what we're going to have to find out, I guess, as time progresses. But here's the thing, okay? I'm going to be like intellectually honest with the ecosystem. The condition for HEX, all right, so HEX was 58x below the low. And when you're looking at these, you can see, all right, there's a problem here because now we have the coin dilution. We know it's the same community in PulseChain, PulseX, EHEX, and PHEX. That's why it got diluted away. I know, don't know if Richard knew this or didn't know this. we'll never know. But I kind of feel like he wouldn't have done it if he thought it would dilute. Well, actually, no. Now I can confirm now he didn't think it would dilute. He didn't, because he was guessing that EHEX and PHEX after the fork, you would have like 1.3 times more value. So you can just deduce from that. He thought that, you know, adding PulseX to DEX and adding PulseChain would have net value add. But as we saw, it hasn't added new people. It's been just the same pieces of the same pizza. The pizza didn't grow bigger. We just split up in different pieces. So because there's a coin dilution factor, what I've decided to do is when you're measuring the HEX price performance when the Bitcoin halving year came, it was, I think, around 108x. So you can actually have a look here. I'm going to show you right now. You can see it right there. This is the Bitcoin halving. This is literally the Bitcoin halving, May 2020. HEX was up 110x from the low. So what I did was I divided by 3. But look, it's rough because you're measuring from a bottom tick. That's why I know Richard loves to measure from bottom tick. I don't like measuring it because, wow, I can send my coin to 1 cent and then just brag about it. No one cares about that. Everybody's offside, and you all know it. No matter how much like psychological manipulation anyone tries to put you away or telling you, nah, it's fine. Doesn't really matter, friends. So when it comes to this, this flag is important. Because if you're just going to use a rough price estimate for where the day one adoption amplifiers were, from the Bitcoin halving, this is the real number, 3.6x up onto the Bitcoin halving. So another way to look at it is day one people from their sacrifice are up 3.6x. But then again, you're going to have to think for yourself. What does that mean when you use PulseChain versus PulseX and the numbers? You know what's interesting? If you go and you do a 3 point whatever X is for Pulse, it gets above here. That's the price. This is Pulse. But that would be for PulseX, if you do that same number, it would be around here. So you're still below. Which is interesting because you're doing the same return, but you are still like, there's still a lot of people still crushed, and you're thinking, wait, how does that happen if we're that low hurdle rate? We only got to do like 3x above Pulse to be in track with Pulse, with Pulse. And the answer is because of PulseX. It's because a giant amount of people put in the PulseX, and that fudged up the numbers. And we haven't even looked at HEX as well. That's a big part of it too. So we're just looking at Pulse here. So that's why you're never going to fully mix and match these to get a perfect story. You can always draw up conclusions wherever you want. But, you know, if you want to use Richard's, this is concerns. I'm just going to do this, right? If Richard likes to measure from the bottom, sweet. Let's measure from the bottom, comparing the two as well, okay? We'll do that. So that's why I like telling you, like, no matter how somebody does branding and messaging here and there, there's always a weak point. So here's the weak point. It goes, okay, you want to measure on the bottom? Okay, well, HEX from the bottom, right? PulseX, and HEX, to match HEX's performance in the last cycle, you're going to need to do a 38x from the low, which is 18x from today. So that's what would be doing HEX's numbers. So are we going to do as good as HEX cycle 1? Well, that's what you got to see. You got to see 18x from today. And luckily for you, you've actually done the maths here just to show you. That would be moving from a 2.7 billion valuation today, as I mentioned earlier, and it would go to 50 billion. which is actually flipping Solana. So we would be rank number 4. We'd actually be the 3rd ranked crypto if that happens. And you got to do this in the next 4 months. So you can see how everybody mixes and matches and plays with that. And, you know, it's going to be controversial, right? Where do you want to measure where the equivalent flag is for Pulse and PulseX? Do you want to see this is equivalent to Pulse day 1 Sacs? Because then the hurdle rate isn't that big. You got to go to get to 3x. But then here's the thing. You're basically, then you're truly going to bet, okay, once Bitcoin finally stops and the bull market goes on, you're going to bet for another 76x from that point. You know, a lot of these numbers, they really are just, we're just drawing squiggly lines from that. That's all we're doing. Okay, we're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. We're just looking at these to compare. And it's also very interesting, right? So if we got 18x from today, it would actually bring us to 0.0012, which is coincidentally where D. Eric Wall will lose his bet with KDP, and then he must publicly tweet that he is my friend, and then he must follow me permanently again. So is that going to happen? I don't know. That's quite a bit, friends. So this is where now you really are punting. Does market cap really matter or not? Because on one hand, if you're saying there's more adoption, there's more people, there's bigger advantages now when it comes to this cycle compared to HEX's beginning, because everyone says, oh, there's a lot of FUD and stuff back then. Well, now it's going to be really, this is where the rubber will meet the road. Now it's actually going to be showtime. Are we going to get there or not? Because if we don't get there, well, you know something's up. Okay, so that's why I got to remind you, my targets, when people ask me to guess, I already told you, man, they're just guesses. We don't really know. We've got no idea. But if the big numbers are coming, and remember, what are the big numbers? Well, the price target for the average crowd member is from here, it's about a 100x from here. So the crowd believes in a 100x, which is, if I get it right now, let's just do it around here. Where is 100? Here we go. Around there. There you go. I remember it was around here. That's right. You see that? See that? Where it is up here. So that's why it makes sense, right? If we repeated HEX and we actually got up here, you can see if we go sideways for a year, it'll take a sideways to rinse everybody out. And then we finally get that 0.006. This is actually what the crowd expects, by the way, friends. This is the crowd's expectation. This chart pattern. This squiggly line. This is literally all my surveys, all other people's surveys, me going through comment sections, speaking to a lot of people. I put the surveys on YouTube communities, looking around. This is what everybody expects. If this is the actual chart right here. This is what the crowd believes is going to happen. So what's this up only line is? This up only line is repeating HEX cycle 1. And then this final flush up is that conclusion to get the 100x for the whole ecosystem. You can see right here, so that's another like 5x, right? Ish from there. So this is what the crowd expects. Now I'm going to tell you the crowd's always wrong. The crowd's literally always wrong. It's baked into the price. So we don't know how wrong it is. And there are many people who are saying, well, this might be too low. Many people believe, no, we're not going to go up here. We're going to end up like another triple up here. We're going to end up actually up here, right? Higher. But like I said, it's going to come down to this. Do you think market cap is real? Do you think liquidity is real? Do you think the fact that HEX had 5 to 10,000 starting user base in 2019, do you think that was better or worse than having 200,000 people today? It all depends on that. Well, I can tell you from the stats and the numbers and the facts and everything we've gone through, having a lower starting user base is infinitely better. Infinitely better when it comes to potential gains in the future. We've never seen something break tradition when it comes to that. Only one time, actually, Doge. Every other coin, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples, cycles after that end up getting blown with expectations. You might have that rare occasion. You had XRP in that 1 year, friends. There's a lot of shonky stuff going on there. So it's basically the odds are low. So yes, there are 2 cases where you were able to do it and 200 cases where you weren't. So literally odds are 1% of this happening. So I want to know, do you think this squiggly line is going to happen because actually when you think about it, this is what the crowd actually expects for this squiggly line. But look, I'll be intellectually honest here. I'll just show you what's also possible. Because remember, if everyone expects as well, so if everyone expects we repeat hex and then we just go sideways. So we just draw it here, friends. I actually draw it perfectly so we can actually see in everyone's mind what do they actually expect. They expect, well, by April, okay, so the Bitcoin halving year, we have gone up all the way to here, which is 10x, 10 to 12x above day one sac, and then repeating hex sideways of some sort, and then we begin the 2025 year. Remember, the majority of the crowd still thinks we're going to get a full-on 4-year cycle. We go all the way to 2025. That's what everybody believes, and they think we're going to, obviously break up, and we finish up here. Okay. Funny enough, this is September 2025. So this is actually the HEX chart. Okay, look, I'll just show you right now. You see? See how HEX goes up sideways for 1 year. So this is the sideways part, right? Bitcoin halving, right? Sideways for 1 year and then a moonshot. So now it makes sense, right? Everyone's anchoring to the past. So very interesting, right? You learned something today. You got to see what's every pricing in. Now, obviously, I just want to remind you, yes, just because I said, oh, we have to flip Solana in 4 or 5 months, it's not FUD. I know a lot of people are going to say, no, that's FUD. No, it's true. It's true. You can't get a 1000x and that much money coming in literally like the last 60 days. It's not happening when you have a user base this big and the liquidity required is huge. You're not going to get that, all right? So these are just, this is the story we want to see unfold. Of course, it's not set out yet, right? Because we don't really know. We haven't written the future, right? We want to see where are we by the Bitcoin halving actual date by April 2024. Then when we get there, we'll cross the road when we get there, and then we'll see, okay, how are the returns looking from here? Because remember, when I got asked, oh, how high do you think it can go? Oh, 30, 40, 50x, whatever it is, 20x. When I'm just throwing out these numbers, it's just because I'm not seeing any response from the market by itself to want to make this thing valuable in our year 2023. And if I'm expecting Bitcoin to cut it early, just me, expecting Bitcoin to cut us off early and the stock market to be extended and exogenous factors come in, that's the number I throw out. But at the end of the day, we're still holding, So what I would love is, this first part, by the way, okay? Last thing, friends, this first part, if you go to day one sac around here, if we got actually here, that's my final bull target already conquered if we get it in the next 5 months. So that's why I'm thinking, this is just me. This is me going off the crowd. The crowd expects this. Well, what if, right? What if we only land in this rectangle here? So maybe I can just draw another brush here. I've drawn it here. So if the crowd expects there, right? What if by Bitcoin halving, we've only reclaimed the PulseChain day one sac? See, everyone's going to call it a victory because we're above day one sac, but that's what I'm just feeling like. If the crowd expects up here, or what if we just get back to this line where we're at the top? What if we get up here and that's it? But this is an enormous difference. See, this is actually, it's funny enough, friends. If we go sideways and then we go break up, this is crazy, right? Because this is exactly, how the crowd gets things right. If the crowd expects 100x from here and we only land like a third, right? So I've drawn it actually for you right now. The green line is what the crowd expects. A HEX cycle repeat of the chart, Bitcoin halving year to be repeated and everything to go fine. And we know where that's coming from. We know that's exactly because that's what HEX did, right? And my yellow line is just like, you know what? I'm expecting this. So at the end of the day, I'm not selling early or anything. I'm just waiting to see what happens. And you're going to wait and see what happens too. Let me know what you think again in the comment section. Make sure you like, subscribe, belly button all. Don't forget, still going to make it. Let's see how the next 4 or 5 months go. Catch you soon.